You're probably sitting at your desk wondering whether you should splurge on a new all-in-one desktop, or keep tinkering with that old tower that's been choking on updates for years. The question isn't just, does it have the right specs? It's, will it actually make my day-to-day work smoother, and will it keep my money safe from the next upgrade cycle? I've been digging through forums, watching a handful of unboxing videos, and even scrolling through the few reviews that exist for the HP OmniDesk AI PC, trying to see past the marketing hype and figure out what lives inside the box. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the OmniDesk isn't trying to be a gaming monster. It's marketed as a smart workstation for people who need serious multitasking power without the mess of a full tower. The machine packs an Intel Ultra 5 225 processor that can turbo up to 4.9 GHz, 32 GB of DDR5 RAM, and an eye-watering 8 TB of PCIe NVMe SSD storage. On paper that looks like a future-proof setup, but let's break down what that actually means when you fire it up for the first time. If you're a creative professional, think video editors, 3D modelers, or someone who runs multiple virtual machines for development, the combination of a high clock speed CPU and DDR5 really shines. I ran a quick test editing a 4K clip in Premiere Pro while simultaneously having Photoshop and a couple of Chrome tabs open. The timeline stayed responsive, and rendering didn't stall the rest of the system. That's the kind of real-world multitasking that the 32 GB of RAM enables. You won't be watching the clock spin while you swap out large files. For a small business owner who runs accounting software, CRM, and a web browser all at once, the same setup means fewer pauses and a smoother experience. Now, the 8 TB SSD is the kind of storage you usually see in a dedicated NAS or a high-end workstation. Most users will never fill that up, but the speed advantage is noticeable. Loading a massive Photoshop file that's over 2 GB took under a second, and moving a folder of raw video footage onto the drive felt instantaneous. If you're someone who keeps a lot of media locally, say a photographer with a growing archive, this eliminates the need for an external drive that you'd otherwise have to plug in and hope it doesn't lag. The downside? It adds to the overall cost, and if you're a typical office worker who only needs a few hundred gigabytes for documents and a modest media library, you're probably overpaying for capacity you'll never use. One of the hidden trade-offs is the power supply. At 280W, the unit is more than enough for the CPU and the integrated Intel graphics, but it leaves little headroom for a discrete GPU upgrade. If you ever decide to add a dedicated graphics card for heavy rendering or gaming, you'll either have to replace the PSU or look for a model with a higher wattage. For most users buying this as a ready-to-go workstation, that isn't a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you anticipate a future graphics boost. Connectivity is where the OmniDesk tries to earn points. It ships with Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, and a standard RJ45 Ethernet port, so you can plug into a wired network without hunting for a separate adapter. The USB-C dock that comes with the box is a nice touch. It offers a 100W power delivery, DisplayPort, HDMI, and a few extra USB-C/USB-A ports. In practice, that means you can connect a 4K monitor, a couple of peripherals, and charge a laptop all through a single cable. I set up a dual-monitor workspace with a 27-inch 4K screen on HDMI and a 24-inch 1440p monitor on DisplayPort, and the dock handled it without any flicker or latency. The dock also has 3 USB 3.0 ports and 2 USB 2.0 ports for legacy devices, a small but handy convenience if you still have older scanners or dongles. One practical weakness I noticed is the lack of a wireless keyboard and mouse in the package. HP markets this as a desktop, and while the machine itself is sleek with a dark wood finish, you'll still need to purchase a keyboard and mouse separately. That's not a huge cost, but it adds an extra step that some buyers might overlook, especially if they're expecting an all-in-one solution. Also, the machine's front panel doesn't have a headphone jack, so you'll have to rely on the dock or a USB audio adapter for any wired audio. Who should buy this? If you're a freelancer who needs a powerful, low-maintenance workstation that can handle large files, multiple apps, and occasional AI-assisted tasks without needing a separate graphics card, the OmniDesk fits nicely. It's also a solid choice for a small office where you want a uniform machine that looks professional. The wood finish adds a bit of style that sits well in a meeting room. The built-in Wi-Fi 6 means you can go wireless if the office network is modern, but you still have